Well, good morning, beloved ones. Turn to someone and tell them, thank you for not being a fair-weathered truth student. Thank you for not being a fair-weathered truth student. Thank you for not being a fair-weathered truth student. Meaning, just because it's raining doesn't mean you can't get up and come be present in the community, right? Somehow or another, I know we're all sweet and that we might melt in the rain, but we have to know we're divinely protected. So I thank you. I do thank you for not letting something as minor as rain to stop you. Because, see, when we do those kinds of things, it spills over into other areas of our lives. When we can't be true to something that we say we desire or want, or we let ourselves get distracted by a minor happening or a minor experience or whatever, it takes us off course. And so to claim your truth and to speak your truth and to stand in your truth is a good thing, whether it's raining or whether there's sunshine, or it's a beautiful day, not a beautiful day. None of that matters when you are able to be true to your truth, true to yourself, and to tell the truth to your being. So here we are, entering the last week of the first month of the new year. I was thinking, I guess it's on now, you know. When a month goes by, once that first, it's like boom, boom, boom. Don't you? I already feel like, wow, what happened? We're getting go into February. Then we'll be into March, and wow, it's moving so quickly. I feel like I've already experienced 6 months already. And I'm trying to figure out, wow, what happened? Because that's the speed in which life is moving, right? We know that. One day could feel like a month because we live so fully. There's so much happening. And so, you know, it's a challenge oftentimes to keep up with where we are and where we need to be. And I was doing some traveling, and then last week I've been in San Diego, Orlando, and back here. And it just feels like a whirlwind. But that's okay, because it's about life. And it's about us living our fullest lives. Or remember, I talked about living our best life now. It's allowing ourselves to be fully present to those things that we say we desire or want, and those things that are present for us to move through and grow through and live through and experience life through. So you've had a month now. And I won't ask you about how well you're doing with your resolutions, because we uncovered that it is far better to be resolute, right, than it is to make resolutions, which we end up usually breaking anyway. Not all, but sometimes, most times, we end up breaking those resolutions. And those broken resolutions are like broken promises that we make to ourselves. And anytime, you know, broken promises never serve us well. When we make a promise to another and we break it, it's not good. But it's even worse when you make a promise to yourself and you break that promise to yourself. Because what it does is that it weakens your word. And when you break the promise that you've made to yourself, it weakens your ability to enter into the creative field of word and thought and action, because you've broken it. You've weakened the energy that keeps that creative feel of your presence alive. When you break that promise to yourself, you weaken your ability to tell the truth to yourself, right? And there's nothing worse than lying to yourself. And again, don't get me wrong, it's never a good thing to lie to anybody else either, okay? But somehow lying to oneself is a challenge, because it creates havoc in your own inner spirit. It creates havoc in your consciousness. It creates havoc in your soul, because what you are basically doing is that you are keeping yourself in an unconscious state. When you break the promise to yourself, you are keeping yourself in an unconscious mold, in an unconscious energy, which we know can cause us to keep repeating the same things over and over when we are in that unconscious state, because when we are just not even aware of what our words are and what our thoughts are and what our feelings are, what our desires are. We've just cast it aside. We spoke this and did this. It just creates a sense of unconsciousness. And then we wonder, how did life happen to me? Why is this happening to me? Again and again, because we haven't been present. We haven't been present. We haven't honored our word, honored our energy, our thought, and our creative ability as spiritual beings to bring something into manifestation. We've been unconscious, living perhaps in a state of internal suffering, and we've stunted our growth and we've stunted our evolution because we're remaining in the same place when we're unconscious. So there's real power. There's something going on with this whole notion of keeping one's word, setting one's intention, and being fully awake to what's happening in our lives, and being in alignment with what we say we want with what we do and manifest. That there needs to be an alignment between head and heart, right? So spirit and body. There needs to be a working together. And when something is out of alignment, any one of those, we then feel a little lost and weakened. And if there's nothing else, we all really want to become conscious. We want to become awakened and in touch with the higher truths. These higher truths, especially about God, about life, and about ourselves. We want to be in touch so that we can figure out where is it that we need to be and what is it that we need to be about. What do we need to be doing, right? And so in order to be in touch with these higher truths about God, life, and self, it's always good to start with self. Since all of our awareness, right, and all of our understanding and our creation is contained within the self. So let's take a look at how we are relating to ourselves. The oracle at Delphi says this. It says what? Know thyself. That's written over some writings in Delphi. Know thyself. Now, there is great power in truly knowing oneself, because when you know yourself, you can make conscious choices. When you know yourself, you can make magnificent manifestations because you know what you want, right? When you know yourself, you can have inspired intentions, and you can make and take authentic actions when you know yourself. And you can also see when you're faking it. Some of us have to fake it till we make it. Sometimes we're untrue to ourselves. We don't have the ability to really be honest with ourselves, and so we're faking it and making it so that other people might not take a glimmer into who we truly are. And so we are afraid of that. And we don't tell the truth to ourselves. We're hiding our lights, hiding our being, hiding our magnificence. And likewise, when you don't know yourself, then you can remain unconscious and disconnected from this greatest source of power and creativity to affect and impact your life, which simply is yourself. No one else has the ability to affect you, to impact you, to transform your life other than you. Nobody else. Now, sometimes we want to think that other people can do it. It doesn't mean that they don't share things with us or we don't have a relationship and an experience. But you are the central person in the midst of your life. You're it. You're the one who holds the key to your well-being. You are the one who is the master of your soul, the captain of your ship, right? You're the one that can live your life. Nobody else can live your life for you except what? You. Nobody else. You can't be like anybody else because everybody else is taken. You can only be yourself. So this whole thing about how do we get to really honor and step into the self that we know we can be, the self that God created us to be. Matthew Arnold said this. He said, resolve to be thyself and know that he who finds himself loses his misery. I love that. Resolve to be thyself and know that he who finds himself loses his misery. Now notice, he didn't say know thyself, which is what the oracle said at Delphi. Know thyself. He says what? Be thyself. Be thyself. And that he who finds himself will lose his misery. Now I don't know about you, but I'm up for losing some misery. I can let that go, right? Because it's miserable trying to be something you're not. It's miserable trying to be someone that you are not. You know, sometimes we look at it and say, oh boy, I wish I could be like this. I wish I could be, you know, I have my people. Oh yeah, I wish I could be like Ayana, like Michael, like Marianne, like this one, like Lisa Nichols. Oh, I wish I could be like that. It's miserable trying to be someone and something that you are not. It is even challenging to try to keep up with somebody else. You know, maybe I can't be there, but now we're trying to keep up with them. Keep up with the Joneses, trying to keep up with the Kardashians or whoever else is up there. You can't keep up. Why are you trying to keep up with somebody else? It's challenging. It's even worse when you try to play small. You find yourself playing small because other people can't handle who you are. They can't handle your being. So you play small so that they can be big and shine brightly, right? You ever find yourself, we've all done that. I've done that. Or what's even worse is when you play small because you are afraid of your own magnificence. Right? Forget that sometimes we are afraid of our own magnificence. I'm trying to work with this. There's a presence and a power in me that has always scared me. And so I try to keep it, you know, in a box because I fear if I really let it out, y'all couldn't handle it all. Not only would it be too much for you, it's too much for me. Because I think I have to learn how to hone it and temper it and guide it. And so I'm trying to work on how to do that because every time I unleash it, it's not necessarily in the highest way. So I'm working with myself. But there is a presence and a power that I need to own. There is an expression of me that I need to unleash. When I got up today, I always said, well, what do I want to wear? And I said, you know what, I'm going to put on some color. I want to be bold today. I'm going to wear some big gold earrings and a big colorful thing because I feel like that, right? And it's very rare that I feel like I want to be bold. Most time I say, well, let me just kind of be proper. Let me what? Be fit into the what? The box, the image, right? But what good is it doing me to be in the box or the image because your image is different, your image is different. I don't know what box I'm in. Be myself. Be yourself. So this is a powerful thing. So if we are trying to resolve to be ourselves, we've got to work a little deeper. We've got to work a little, to be a little clearer in being ourselves, boldly. So I want you to turn to somebody because unless we understand and know our worthship, we will not be successful in doing anything in life. We must own our worthship. So I want you to turn to somebody, and I want you to because we're going to heal some erroneous beliefs and thoughts about ourselves, those insecurities, fears, doubts, or whatever that prevent us from being our magnificent selves. So turn to somebody and tell them, I am worthy. Tell them, I am good enough. I am good enough. Tell them I have value because I'm here. Tell them I am wonderfully and marvelously made. Tell them I am worthy of every good thing. I am enough. And I am evolving. Now, didn't that feel good to be able to claim who you are, state who you are? So this is a truth about ourselves. And once we begin to know our worthship and know the truth about ourselves, then we have to have the courage to be ourselves. So here's something I want you to consider and to remember as we are seeking to unfold and to express the highest of who we are and who God created us to be. We want to remember these things. It's true that while we are unfolding our greater selves, we do have some basic tendencies, some personality traits, some habits, some learned behaviors, right, that have been with us for a while. And maybe that we've even wanted to transform or to change. But know this, who you are is not just a fixed expression, all right? Because there are many new levels to even ourselves that we have yet to uncover. See, we think we know ourselves, but each experience in life should bring you to a new place of knowing. Oh, I didn't know this about myself. Oh, this experience gives me the opportunity to see this about myself. Oh, I didn't know I had this in me. I didn't know I could do that. See, so even who we are and who we think we are is not a fixed level of expression. That we can still grow and change and evolve. We can still be who we desire to be, not like somebody else. It doesn't mean that you won't admire traits or whatever, but you can't be that. You can only be you. But you have some things that you want to be, so you can still be who you desire to be or who you want to create yourself to be. You can change. You can transform. You can grow. Now, it just might take a little work. I'm going to tell you this. Even though we have all that possibility, it might take and probably will take a little bit of work, a little bit of commitment, and the ability to tell the truth to ourselves about ourselves. Start there, and then we go from there. George Bernard Shaw said this. He said, life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. I love that, because sometimes we're a little bit too much trying to find ourselves. Why don't you just create yourself? But in order to create yourself, you have to get in touch with yourself, to begin to know yourself. And again, once you begin to know yourself, then you are not limited. When you begin to know yourself, you're not limited, because then you can create yourself as you can see yourself. Can you see yourself happy? Can you see yourself solid? Can you see yourself as a loving being? Can you see yourself filled with the abundance of the universe? Can you see yourself living a good life? Can you see yourself being kind and loving and generous? Can you see yourself as peace? See, if you can see yourself, then you can create that same vision of yourself. So once you know your shortcomings, your roadblocks, your flaws, and all the things that you have allowed, you've got to see those, because they will, if not, they will jump in at every step of the way, right? So once you begin, so we're going to know ourselves, we're going to look at everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all that's in between. But once you begin to see those things, and that those things that you've allowed to hold you back, then you can begin the courageous and courageous journey of creating the self you desire to be. Then you can be on that courageous journey of living the life that God has given all of us as a gift. It's a precious gift. So, because this is not necessarily an easy journey, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need the strength of spirit to help us on this journey. You're not going to be able to walk this journey alone. You will need the help, support, wisdom, guidance of God. We're going to do that. So we might as well start. We're starting with self, but we recognize that to walk this journey into the awareness of self, I must become aware of God first, so that I can connect this sense of self to the presence of God. So calling upon God, connecting with God, surrendering to God, speaking with God, praying to God, dialoguing with God, spending time imbuing your presence with the light of God, filling your soul with God. This has to be a constant activity with you and for you, right? God has to be a constant in your life, not just on Sundays. See, I said you weren't a fair weather truth student because you came out here today. That's great. But you also will not be a fair weather truth student when tomorrow, when you're not in church, you remember to tell yourself the truth about your life, about God, right? It's those times when we're not in the perfect setting that we have to remember who we are and call upon and connect to the divine. And I tell you this, spending time, 5 minutes every day, whatever, however long, but make that connection, dialogue with the divine. Call upon God. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And you're going to need the he, the she, the it that is in you in order for you to deal with the world. Okay? So we start there. We ask. Jesus, when he left, he said, I'm going to give you a precious gift. It's going to be the Holy Spirit. And you can ask whatever you want of this Spirit in my name and in my nature. You can ask and it will reveal it to you. He called it the living Spirit of truth. You could ask for the living Spirit of truth to reveal itself to you. You can ask for the Spirit of the living God, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, or whatever you want to call it, to tell you the truth about yourself, to reveal to you what is needed for the next step in your journey. You ask it to live in you and move in you and have its being in you and guide you and direct you. And also ask it to tell you this truth that will set you free. Because there is an aliveness to truth. There's an energy in the truth, whether it's the truth about God or the truth about yourself or the truth that deals with spiritual principles. There is an energy of truth. And it's aliveness. It brings you up to a place of freedom and openness. You shall know the truth, and it'll set you free. And I'm telling you, knowing it beyond an intellectual, conceptual thing, knowing it beyond something you've read in a book, knowing it beyond what I have said to you and spoken, knowing it only because you know it from your own inner experience and being. Yes, we want to know the principles. We want to have the insights and the teachings and the practices, those things that can bless us and heal us and transform us. But when we take them and we know them to such a degree, it's like closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. When this truth lives in you that is closer than the breath you just took, the truth is so present, it'll heal you, bless you, free you, and transform you like nothing else. It will take you to your next level of greatness or godness. See, greatness and godness are the same thing. Because if you're great, anybody can be great because you're serving. And when you're serving, you're not serving yourself, but you're serving the divine first. So when we actually begin to let this truth become a living entity in us, a living reality, and we begin to commune with this living spirit, this spirit that indwells us, this gift that has been given us, when we learn to really begin to develop a real relationship, and I'm talking a relationship where you can dialogue and talk and ask and receive and surrender and be uplifted. And this living exchange of dynamic energy of life. When we learn to really have that, and all of a sudden, you will begin to see a change in your being. See, it's very hard to change yourself by yourself. I've tried it. I really have. I give you affirmations to say. We do our prayer work, but the change that we're really seeking, that has to be done by spirit, in the innermost parts of your being, right? But when you begin to do that and have this sense of oneness with God, oneness with the Creator, where you have truly opened yourself up and it's a dynamic energy, a relationship, a reality, not just a Sunday morning experience, but an everyday, 24/7 living expression, you are going to change. You don't have to worry about doing it. There will be a change in you. You will begin to see that your life will show up differently. There will be things that will come with grace and ease. There will be an unfolding. You'll be at the right place at the right time. There'll be people coming in your life that you need to have at that right moment. There's all of a sudden you're walking and living in a different vibration. Others are struggling, but you are moving in the flow of life. Doesn't mean that stuff out here is going to stop or change, but you will be different. You will be transformed. You see, and all of a sudden, when you have this relationship, you will begin to see that the quality of your life and affairs begin to change, and you will begin to recognize your worthship. Because all those other things, those insecurities, those doubts, they begin to just fall away. You see, and until you can really see and understand who you truly are, and how wonderfully you are made, and how much you have been endowed with, and the heights that you are meant to soar, and the depths of divinity you are meant to express and demonstrate, then until you can remember all of those things, your life will be, you'll be living an unintentional life. You'll be living a life of mediocrity. You'll be living a life that has limitations, and you'll be living a life that's defined by others, or defined by your circumstances, or defined by the conditions, or defined by the status quo, and the fear of simply being your divine and God-filled self. And so we have to wake up and know thyself. We have to wake up and understand reality of who we really are, who God is and who we are in God. This is what William James said. He said, there is but one cause of human failure, and that is man's lack of faith in his true self. You see, when you can have faith in your true self, I'm not talking about your egoic self. I'm not talking about the personality and persona that we show to the world self. I'm talking about your true Christed, God, divine self. When you can have faith in that self, then all of a sudden things will begin to change. That true self that's connected to the source and the force that runs the entire universe and life itself. That true self of you that has access to all that is needed for you to live a God-centered, a God-empowered, and a God-filled life, which is a good-centered, good-empowered, good-filled life. When we are in touch with that self, life begins to show up completely differently. When we have faith in this self, we are intentional with how we live. We are intentional. We live with faith. We live with little fear. And if fear does arise in us, because sometimes it will, we know how to meet it. You meet faith with what? Fear. You meet fear with what? Faith is what I mean, right? When we have fear and it'll come, you have to meet it with faith. You all know the statement that says, fear knocked at the door, faith opened it, and there was no one there. Don't you love that? Fear knocked at the door, because it's always knocking at your consciousness. But faith opened it, and there was no one there. That's the way we want to live. So if you have, don't worry about the fears. Even Jesus had a moment of fear in the Garden of Gethsemane. But just as quickly as that moment came, he said, you know what? But nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. You got this, God. I got this because I am one with you. Let's go. That's a powerful way to live one's life. When you know who you truly are and who God is in you, then the light of that truth, the light of that knowing, right, overshadows any darkness, any fear, any doubt, and you begin to move with purpose. You begin to move in a way that you will be sustained by the presence. Doesn't mean you won't have challenges, but you can move through those challenges, over the challenges, around the challenges, under the challenges, through whatever way you will be in the flow of life and moving from greater good into greater good. Life into life. Even this thing we call death is just a momentary pause, but still moving from life into life. See, greater good, greater life, greater God. So we have this precious gift. Don't be afraid to live it and to live it well. And don't be afraid to tell the truth. The truth about you, the truth about God, the truth about yourself, the truth about the eternal presence of the one who creates all life itself. This truth that will set you free. So, we have a task. One, we have to know our worthship. And two, we need to know thyself. That's the journey. And if you know that, everything else is a piece of cake. Blessings and namaste. Blessings.